Good afternoon, welcome. We're going to start with a song. If you want to join us, I think you have words on your handout. Come and go with me. Come and go with me to my Father's house. To my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is joy, joy, joy. Come and go with me to my Father's house. To my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is peace, peace, peace. Come and go with me to my Father's house. To my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is love, love, love. Come and go with me to my Father's house. To my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is joy, joy, and there is peace, 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 and love, there is love, love, love.
I just want to get up here quickly enough so I could be applauded for. Like, this never happens here. My name is Eric. I'm one of the pastors here. Heather was playing the guitar. She's my co-pastor and friend, and we're really pleased to welcome you and to host this event. Some of you, I believe, have never been in this space, so I want to particularly welcome you. We are streaming this, so those of you that are either online in this moment or in a later recorded version, it's good to have you to be a part of this as well. This is a gift just to enter into the transcendentals of truth, goodness, and beauty, which this world increasingly is in need of. And Laurie is a purveyor of these virtues and gifts. It was some years ago. I've been Laurie's pastor for a while now, and I remember when she was struggling with an issue. I didn't tell you I was going to share the story, but this is emblematic of the person that we're going to hear from today. She was doing some gigging, voice recording of books, and this particular manuscript that she had was presented to her, asking her to do this work, had some profanity in it. And so she came to me in this earnest struggle of, now what do I do? Do I say yes or do I say no? And I think I guided her in the wrong direction. I said, well, someone's going to read it. May as well be your voice. And, it's already out there. And I knew she needed work and, you'll get paid for this. And she, fortunately, did not follow that encouragement, but she remained true to her person and integrity and recalled the words of a song that she wrote. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. And so she said no to that. And that is reflective of who she is and her life. There's something about Laurie. If you have been around her even for short periods of time, you have experienced this, but you may not have had the language for it. I didn't until just the other day when I finished reading a book called Presence and Encounter. Here is there are 2 sentences here that I want to share with you, maybe 3, on a chapter called Luminous Presence. Luminous presence is sufficiently rare that we are blessed if we have ever encountered it with recognition. Many may not be aware of any such experiences. This is because when we meet people, we often fail to encounter the presence they carry as their soul signature, because we ourselves are not always present. We may therefore have met luminous presence, but not encountered it. In the next while, you will not only meet it, you will encounter it. Let's welcome Laurie Klein. Laurie asked me to do besides introduce her, which I think I did, but that is to encourage you, if you haven't already, to silence your cell phones.
Although it would be interesting to hear your ringtones. I do like music. Thank you to Ben, thank you to Heather and Elizabeth and Jamie, and to Riss, working the magic with sound and tech. I am so grateful for all the help, and I'll give some more thank yous later. Thank you, Eric, for those words. I hope I can live into them more and more. Welcome to those online. Welcome to you. Thank you for coming. I did have some nights of waking thinking, I'm throwing a party for a book and I don't know if anyone will come. So here you are. And some of you probably much prefer a good book or a movie or a podcast over poetry, schmoetry. And you're here, and I want to thank you, and I want to suggest to you that when you get a poem into the air, something happens. It's sort of, the poem can happen to you the way music can happen to you. And it isn't necessary that you follow every line. It's more about, what do you receive? Is there an impression, a sensation? Is there an emotion, a memory that comes up? So no stress, everyone at ease, right? Today, you're going to meet my Uncle Donald, known in the family as Uncle Dunkle. He was a Korean War veteran, very troubled. He was a carpenter. He could build anything, and he was my childhood hero. You will hear from a couple voices out of one body today. You'll hear from Kid Larkin, that's me as a girl. You can see my picture out there on the table, and an amateur spy. You will hear from Elder Girl, who is still spying, but on myself. And even the house has a voice in this book. I grew up in a really magical place. It was big. It was on a funny little lake that had been dredged from a swamp. It smelled really bad, but we loved it. There were 72 windows at the time I lived there. There were 49 doors and one skeleton key. And then we filled the closets with our own skeletons. You'll hear a little about that today. I think these poems are doors through which you might encounter similarities to your own comings and goings over time. Or maybe you're on a threshold and you're not sure what's ahead for you, or you're maybe a little haunted about something behind you. This is for you. This is for all of us. About the past, King Solomon said, God calls the past to account. Meaning, I think, and Eric will correct me later privately if I'm wrong about this, meaning that there comes moments in time where I think we are invited to look back and maybe put our physio-spiritual house a little more closely in order. And so that is what happened when I wrote this book. But did I know that when I started? No. And would I have written it if I had known how deep I had to go? Probably not. Denial can be so cozy. No, I started the book because an editor I admire said, would you send me a manuscript? And I thought, what would I write about? And I thought about life as I was experiencing it. I had been really sick for 5 months, and I had been self-quarantined. I'd been out for about 2 months, and then the pandemic hit, and we all sheltered at home. And I was so aware of politics and masks and opinions and polarization and fractious cultural noise. And I just was homesick for a once upon a time place, Fowler House, where I grew up. So, speaking now as Kid Larkin, that's the amateur spy. There's pie at my house. Want to come over? Meet Kid Larkin in her second favorite tree, gathering edible rubies. It's no use licking your fingers. It's not enough time. Dive bomber robins are robbers, and they go crazy for cherries. Kid like me with a pail gets a little flittery, dodging beaks like rockets. Mayday! Whoa, mayday. Maybe those birds can imagine the jumpy ex-soldier uncle I love, who never grows out his hair to hide that scar like a sickle moon stuck to his temple. Me and the birds pretend Uncle Dunkle salutes, and then he rolls out the best ever lardy crust for pie. In my daydream, he hands out silvery whatsits with triggers to push the pit from each gem. Me and the birds heap our riches inside the nest of dough, and we flute the edges with forks or tiny claws. We don't have a war. What we have is a timer that ticks like a battered engine. Sometimes the way you whistle sugars everything, absolutely, hiding a woeful face. Maybe your family had an eccentric great aunt or a quirky cousin. Seems like most clans have a resident character. Uncle Dunkle was my personal Merlin. He made things happen. I listened to a podcast on Friday and I thought, oh, this is just like me and Uncle Dunkle. A very famous poet named Christian Wyman said, prayer might look like poetry to one person and carpentry to another. Elder Girl takes another look. Once my whistling, blue-eyed uncle arrived for tea like a daddy longlegs, folding up in our corner nook. I prattled and poured orange pop from a teapot the size of my fist. He cradled his cup and never spilled. Uncle Dunkle skipped rocks, he jitterbugged, he shinnied up trees. He was 6+ feet of living lath, held together with pluck and sinew. A man who strode along ridge poles. That's the top of the roof. I had to look that up. Shingling a roof like an urban card sharp, armed with a royal flush. Cellar to roof. He could conjure a whole house. Is there such a thing? A whole house? That would imply no structural flaws. Our house, clanking radiators that I kept filled. Ill-fitting windows, they needed updating. We wanted a screen porch, we needed closets. Uncle Dunkle to the rescue. Gentle, soft-spoken, a man who grasped the measure of things. My uncle tackled walls out of plumb and crumbling plaster day after day. He shouldered the ongoing work of creation and reclamation. He built a long hallway lined with closets in a very difficult passage, structurally in the house and in his life. Hindsight. God haunted our stairwell at night with a shadowy stance hard to perceive. Not once did I see my parents linger within that shotgun hall, glassed in with 7 French doors, where the pendant light swung and stuttered with water whenever someone showered too long. The bulb was a fairy ship in a bottled squall, fritzing on, off, on, off. How early we learn to step back rather than forth, convinced what we are already cannot be undone. But in the catch of memory's breath, reclamation goes on. Oh, a nail drops out of the paneling. That poem kept poking me. It made me go a little deeper in my story. There was some trauma. And every time I shied away from it, my writing partner, Susan Cowger, 28 years, we've been reading each other's stuff and speaking into it. She kept saying, there's more there. There's more there. She urged me onward. She urged me inward. She urged me upward. You were pretty relentless. Yeah. There was more underneath. Well, a building inspection exposes faulty wiring, cracks in the foundation, insulation issues. There's a code. How does a kid crack the code for a grown-up with post-war PTSD and paranoid schizophrenia? My uncle, as well as my dad, who was a World War II vet and troubled, those 2 men showed me that the imperfect, be it a person or a place, can still offer warmth and possibility, even delight. Kid Larkin, being interviewed on Pretend TV, explains where we eat. Where we eat is a perfect lookout for me and my dog, wrapped in long windows and bare brick walls, meaning no insulation, my best uncle says. Wind makes rattle-pane glass shiver inside the frames, but he'll fix things up for us when it's not so stormy, making a nook like a snow globe attached to our castle with 49 doors. Meanwhile, I'm coming loose in my chair because whether snow falls in the yard or sneaks through the cracks, saying grace with Dad also means making puns. That's when the side-by-side twinkling appears, alakazam, like 2 fireflies switching on and off behind his big black glasses. Twinkling eyes. I bet you all have some twinkling eyes in your memory banks. Some memories, they beckon us like a door left ajar, and that's between past and present. But I kind of think, having written this book, that some memories almost flash forward between the here and now and the hereafter, as if to bridge it somehow, and that's sounding kind of mystical even for me. So let's go to the family table. My mom found it at a junk store downtown where they piled the furniture on top of each other. It was so dusty. She brought it home with all the leaves, and it kick-started this next poem. But I need to add that a close colleague of Eric's, Leonard Sweet, observed this about the story arc of the Bible, that a table runs through it. From Eden, Genesis, through the 23rd Psalm, through the book of Revelation, and beyond. So, elder girl between tables. Oh, I miss that carved, massive antique, those storied tastes of home, arrayed across added leaves at the holidays, squabbles, lefse, ancestral meatballs. Was the first table of all volcanic? Hell-hot magma hardened to stone and set for 3 in the very first garden. Later forbidden, but never forgotten. What is it with meal times and families at war? King David and his al fresco lunch. And God says, invite your foes. Mary, the chosen host for the holiest DNA of all time. I imagine she must have presided in peace, though beset by little heels and elbows. Did she foresee one Gentile mother's plea in the name of crumbs for the hungry, who argued for every outsider's worth to be reclaimed? Love, pull out another chair, easing what seethes among and within us. Bid us re-enter the dear collective Amen. Last December, Bill and I volunteered on a project for Habitat for Humanity in Deer Park. And the workday started with prayer, which surprised us. We didn't expect that. There were about 10 of us gathered in the kitchen area. It was echoing and it was dusty. We just dedicated the day's labor to the Lord and the family that would live there. And by now, I am thinking there might be a table in that space. Yes? Dana says yes. In a few minutes, Dana Laurie, I'm so pleased to have with us today from Habitat, will talk to us briefly about their work. But first, of course, Kid Larkin had to horn in and say something about it. So here's Kid Larkin's tribute to shared work and its legacy. Kid Larkin on building the Scream porch. Some baby brothers can't say screen. Agent Larkin here. Eavesdropping again. Oh, Mom and Dad are too loud behind their door. She says her baby brother is fine and he needs the work. Oh, I'm glad when Daddy finally gives in. For weeks, Uncle Dunkle parks one lucky strike behind each ear. When he visits my lemonade stand, his tools make music around his hips. And whispery tunes sneak through his teeth. He's a genie, offering extra wishes. Sim salabim. That's magic for 1,000 thanks. Good thing tree bones hold up our new porch, hammered together with screens to sieve out the skeeters. For sure, Dad'll apron up now, and every night will be a picnic. Mom says so like a promise. In the cement, my handprints are quiet next to my uncle's. Shh. Imagine he winks and whispers. Someday, strangers will know we are still partly here. Habitat builds houses to last. Habitat builds relationships. I'm going to let Dana Laurie, who used to go to this assembly of believers, this community, thank you so much for being here. Tell us how we can help.
Hello, hello. My name is Dana Laurie. I'm the Community Relations Manager at Habitat for Humanity Spokane. And this is a really special day for me because, like Laurie mentioned, I grew up in this church. Heather was my youth pastor. I got married here. So this is a really wonderful homecoming for me. And I'm excited that it's meaningful because I get to share about what I do. And what we do at Habitat for Humanity is it's emergent. It's so important. It can't be overstated. And I was really touched when Laurie reached out and, based off of her volunteer experience, was touched enough to want to sort of share our mission with everyone else. Habitat for Humanity's mission is to show God's love in the world by bringing community together to build homes, communities, and hope. And so we, like you may have gathered, we build homes. We're a general contractor. Here in Spokane County, we build about 25 to 30 homes every year, which is a lot for us. Maybe 10 years ago, we only built 8, but it's also at the same time totally not enough, which is a lot, right? Our wait list for folks that want to enter the program is at an all-time high. We're at 2,000 households, 2,000 families looking to buy houses from us. Wow. And we hit our max of like 20 to 30 homes a year. Like that's a lot for us. But again, you can do the math, about 2,000 households, right? Yeah. So we have this really important timely mission. We have this incredible need. But I think what Laurie is doing here today is doing a great job of taking a step back, thinking about the individual families that are going to be in the individual houses, not getting caught up in looking at the big math, which is incredible and scary and hard and sad. But taking a step back and focusing on the individual joy that the families are going to have once they are living in their home. Generations on generations living in the same home that they can pass down to their kids if they want. And understanding that these homes were something that their parents, maybe if they have teenagers in the family, help build themselves along with the community. That's, I think, the best part of what we do is we bring every part of our community together to build in the same direction and to pull in the same direction at a problem that feels intractable. And so a little bit what I'm doing today is I've shared that, we have our neighborhoods that we're building all over the county, individual rehabs all over the city of Spokane. But I'm also going to invite you to, like Laurie did, come volunteer with us. Come pick up a hammer. You don't need any volunteer experience. If you're, a little worried about what being on a job site would be like, we make it as easy as possible. Anyone can help. And that's a huge part of what we do is we feel like anyone can make a difference with us. And then also we have lots of things throughout the year. We have wonderful fundraisers. We have wonderful home dedications where we get to celebrate the families that are buying the houses. And those are all open to the public. So part of what I'm doing here is extending an invitation. So that's a huge part. I don't want to take up too much time. I will be at the table back in the narthex afterwards if you want to ask me more about like the details and the nitty-gritty of how we do what we do. I love that part of our mission as well, but it's maybe not why you come to a book reading. But again, this is a really important mission that we have in our community right now. The time, it's an emergent thing that we're doing right now, but it's important to take times like this to take a step back, not be overwhelmed by sort of an emergency, and we get to, because of our work, we get to take time to focus on the individual household, the individual family, the individual people, and I think, I don't know exactly which house you were working on, Laurie, but I'm fairly certain that the family that moved into the house in Deer Park that you're working on, they're a family that's very near and dear to me. I've served as like sort of their interpreter from time to time. I speak Spanish, and they're a Spanish-speaking family. So they're a family that I got to interpret for. We got to go through the ins and outs of mortgages. They both of the parents work full-time at a restaurant, like with the Red Dragon, I think, in Hilliard, Chinese restaurant. And so they work like nights and weekends, So they actually were able to spend a ton of time up in Deer Park because their schedule didn't overlap. And so they put so much work into their house. And they have, I think, 3 children. And so they were able to just pour their hearts and souls into this alongside with the other community members. I know Colbert has been involved in our Deer Park community since its inception. I think we have 75 houses out in that neighborhood now, and we're probably have 2 or 3 more to go before it's all wrapped up. So, I think I'm trying to this is sort of a meditation for me actually in this moment. It's easy for me to get up here and talk about the emergency, but my meditation is to take a step back, think about the family that is going to be in this house, and try to have a moment of joy and a moment of gratitude. And so I invite you guys to also come serve with us, donate, contribute however you want to, but find that moment of joy and gratitude for yourself, because in the end, that's what we need to focus on. So thank you, Laurie, so much. Yeah.
Thanks, Dana. Because this is kind of Laurie's MO. It's not about her. It's not even about the book. It's about something bigger and more significant. So we would like to just provide an opportunity for you to participate in this mission. We've got some friends who are going to pass offering plates. This is a church. We do that here. And you can either put a gift in there, use the QR code if you're of that generation to make a gift, or as you're talking to Dana in the narthex later, there are some self-addressed stamped envelopes if you want to take that home, and you could write a check and make a contribution to Habitat. In gratitude for your presence and whatever gift you're able to make, and please make it a generous one, there are books of the House of 49 Doors in the narthex for you to pick up on your way out. If you happen to already have a copy, there are copies of Laurie's first book that are also out there, and you can take that home as a gift instead. Liz. Let's pray. God, for the ways that you entrust us as co-creators with you in bringing about life and goodness, we give you thanks. For the ways that you entrust with us with considerable agency to do work that is meaningful, that cares for others, we're grateful. So in these moments, we simply want to dedicate these gifts and the intentions of our hearts. Perhaps some of us have been prompted to pick up a hammer and do some work in Deer Park. However that plays out, we pray that these gifts and intentions would provide the gifts of shelter and safety, solace, a gathering place for families and community. And although most of these houses are considerably fewer than 49 doors, may they nonetheless be the environments where rich memories are made, where lives are formed, and beauty extends. With grateful hearts, we dedicate these gifts and our lives to you. In the name of Jesus, amen. Laurie, I took a couple of sneak peeks while you were speaking, and I detected a kind of a pervasive look of delight on us. You bring delight, and we need some more, so get back up here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Oh, thank you. I want to thank Liz and, there's a sign. Thank you, granddaughter. Got to break him into poetry young. Thank you, Liz and Karen and Marky, for passing the plates. When you walk back later for treats and to pick up your free book and to speak with Dana and his colleague Gloria, there are beautiful flowers on the food table that Liz placed today in memory of her beloved husband, who would have been 80 today, and she is sharing those flowers with us. Thank you, Liz. Show of hands, who had a dollhouse? Treehouse? Birdhouse? That's probably just about all of us. I, as a kid, felt pretty at home in the house of God. It was just 1 block away. We walked there, and my mom did the flowers there. It was a very long, narrow nave with carpeting down the center aisle, and but underneath the pews was linoleum. Very smooth, very slidey. Maybe you can see where this is going. Agent Larkin goes underground at church. Shh, tuck in your shirt and lay down under the pews like my mother's mop. Move cottony slow with only the tiniest swish till you feel linoleum cold all down the bumps of your back. Now, let's paddle our hands from one seat to the next like rungs, climbing through shadows and bands of light on a frozen lake. This nave is my Saturday cave, where Sunday grannies will switch on those hearing aids screwed to the pews. You remember those? So don't knock a receiver off the hook. And no talking, or Mom might catch us and send us home for disrespect. Keep swimming till backglide turns into float with every stroke. Toward the altar she's facing now, where she has to arrange the gladioli. From down here, each stem is a ladder of butterflies, or a stack of gumballs with wings about to blow bubbles and make God laugh out loud in church. I'm so grateful I learned about God early because family-wise, with 2 recent war veterans, there was a lot already in motion. However, today is a celebration. I won't read the sad poems. Better to encounter them on the page in your own way, in your own time. I will tell you that my beloved uncle increasingly withdrew from us. He broke off his engagement. He spent a lot of time in sanatoriums, and later he took his life. And afterward, no one said his name. We erased him. We bolted all the doors against suicide. I don't know why my father told me the details. And then he made me promise to never tell. My own mother didn't know. My siblings didn't know. It was 5 days before Christmas. And I was too young for those grisly details. But I kept the secret. Why? Well, cowardice, loyalty, a weird kind of pride because my dad trusted me and told me that story, and he didn't even tell my mom, and it was her baby brother. There was denial. There was shame. Was I responsible? Sometimes to relieve the wound, we agree to relive the pain and embrace it. Playwright Arthur Miller wrote these words in After the Fall. I had the dream each night that I had a child, and even in the dream, I knew the child was my life, and it was an idiot. And I ran away until I thought, if I could kiss it, maybe I could rest. And I bent to its broken face, and it was horrible. But I kissed it. I think one must finally take one's life in one's arms. Here's a poem about this house of breath I live in. And maybe it will speak for you too. A house like a shawl. Sooner or later, of course, we must all unravel as we gravely mouth the verbs of change until ego resists no more than a garment sloughed. May our souls exposed finally forgo shoring up gaps as if we could on our own heal one blessed thing. Maybe these closet selves, no more substantial than April air crocheted into a shawl, only need to be shouldered, held again to the breastbone. Thank you. Sometimes I think God's arms are inside my sleeves. Actually, I kind of feel today God's arms are inside a lot of sleeves here because I'm feeling really embraced and heard, and I thank you so much for that. It's funny how I write this book 60 years after the thing happened. And you develop scar tissue, but sometimes over time it starts to break down. And memories come, and one triggers another, and you realize Sometimes with grief, there's a silencing. Sometimes with parental coercion, there's a silencing that is no longer healthy for anyone. I have wondered, did my dad ever wish for a do-over? Did he regret telling me? I don't know. What I do know is that forgiving him made more room here for something else to grow, of goodness and mercy and love. And I had the thought the other day, people do the onion thing, layer by layer, we get well. I'm thinking for Laurie Klein, it's more like letting go is a spiral staircase. You take a step, and then you angle a little on your way onward. Did I say that right? You angle a little on your way onward. Yeah, because you know how skinny those steps are at the center? Jeez, like, ugh. So am I healed, you might ask, for having written this book? I do know I'm being drawn toward wholeness. I do know God is somehow rehoming me, like he's rebuilding stuff inside, parts of my life from the inside out. And that mercy is sort of summoning the kid in me again. Larkin, he's alive and well. Larkin loved Jack Frost. Elder girl wakes to frost. All this festooning of eaves, downspouts, chimneys, shingles, every edge. Who leaves behind their breath like a calling card? Fished from the smock of a wizened artist with sable brushes strapped to each hand, faceting gutters and sycamore trees. Who speed rhymes antennae and trims the satellite dish with crystal work. Be it vapor or ice dam, the unraveled lace of a snail. All that was liquid in the beginning resurfaces somewhere. The rivers of Eden, the tears of Christ. I wrote these poems in private, and I felt heard. You today make me feel heard. I published them in hopes that they would speak about reclamation and hope, even if it's been a really long time. I began to see, and I hope till my dying breath, I can see glimpses of unintended harm along the way from someone who loved me less well than they meant to. I hope my kids and my grandkids will offer me that same grace. Because don't we just want to love each other well? There are people walking around with traumas inside. Might be one or two of you here. Maybe you would like to lay an old ghost, walk away freer, feel a little younger. Secrets and their ruinous, insidious fallout. They eat away the inner being. But we're all building something. So let's build something to last with touches of joy. Let's be agents of whimsy as well as repair. Some healings within ourselves and among each other. They may start with remembrance, but they go on with deep listening well. And that brings me back to where I started when I was writing this book, which was being so aware of the incivility among our people across the planet, but especially in our nation. The noise, the news, people in the church not able to speak gently to one another and hear one another. There must be a way to listen, like a small body of water, reflective face upturned, an entity of acceptance. Water embraces the sunken, the near dying, as well as the thriving stir, like plants, practicing grace as they lean on the current. Let me be a haven where shared sediments settle, where buoyancy reasserts itself, where you will beckon the weathered vessel and I will coax the reluctant toe. Will soften the chipped margins of shells, cast-offs, the chronically stony. Encompassed and eased, the survivor rises, the way a trout breaks from silence to surface. Old hooks and lines ingrown, jaws half trussed. Wounds revealed by one seeking a witness. Oh, what was it the risen one said? Hark, flow, and do likewise. Heather, I think we'll forego questions in view of the time, but thank you for being willing to facilitate that. I have some people I want to thank who have listened well to me and to whom I have listened to my great benefit. And I probably won't get all of you, but Bill Klein, you're the first. And my daughters, Rachel and Kristen. My grandkids listen to me. Susan Calker, my longtime friend and writing partner, and there she is waving to me. She has a new book out, Hawk and Songbird, and it is exquisite. Buy it. Gina Bradford, I don't know if I would have started writing without you. You said you thought I could do it. She's still telling me that 30-some years later. She's my big sis. The Wednesday Writers Group, some of you are here today. Cindy, I see Ruth, Terry, Steve, listened to these poems and gave feedback. Core group, a small group I've been part of. The group, way back in Calvary Church days. Some of you are here today, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Eric and Elizabeth have listened to me and spoken into my life. Elizabeth is my spiritual director, and honestly, we have worked on me being able to stand up here and do this for at least 6 months. Every month, she says, go, fly, you could do it. The CPC book group is the first place I aired some of these poems to see would they fly. I thank you. The Thursday morning study group, who have made beautiful treats out there for you to have afterwards. I thank you. I thank Bob and Wendy for setup, and Becky and her husband helped with setup today. I thank Deb Sheldon, fellow artist. I thank Dana Leroy for being here. I thank my maker. I thank Pat Steen. I probably should say Pat before my maker. I thank... She's almost my maker. She was my mentor for 37 years. She taught me how to open my mouth and be glad about it. Oh, put my foot there a lot of times. And my maker, I couldn't be here to tell this story without him. It takes a village, it still does. Ben and friends, take us out with a song. I am going to slip out while they're playing music for you. Come meet me. Remember, the books are free. It's my gratitude that you would invest in Habitat for Humanity. Thank you so much. Go Ben. Thank you. Oh.
stand and sing or make your way out, you choose.
Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is joy, joy, joy. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is peace, peace, peace. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house. There is love, love, love. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house, to my Father's house.